YouTube right now? Perfect. Okay, I want to hear where everybody is from. So maybe type in the chat where you're calling in from, and I'm gonna guess your time zone. So I'm calling from Vancouver, BC. So right now it's 8 a.m. for me. Someone's calling from Miami. I'm sorry, I don't know anything about the US, so I don't know what time zone that is. Atlanta, Georgia. I feel like that's 11 a.m. Oh, please just keep yourselves muted. Thank you. Okay, oops. There. Okay, so lots of people from Nigeria. I know it's 5 p.m. for everyone in Nigeria. Awesome. Miami, EST. Okay, that's 11 a.m. Okay. Sweden. Oh my gosh, I don't know what time it is there, but I feel like it's gonna be 3 p.m. Let me know if I'm right. Philadelphia, is that on the East Coast? That's 8, 9, 10, 11 a.m. Germany, 5 p.m. Okay, that's good to know. Hello. I tried to study German a while back, and the pronunciation was very hard. Ooh, Kenya, 7 p.m. Thanks for joining us so late. So nice to have you here with us today. Awesome. Oh, Sweden, 5 p.m. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. The first part is just gonna be a little bit of an intro, and then we can dive into it. So, let me share my screen. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. So we're EntryLevel.net. Hopefully you know who we are, but in case you don't, we help you learn and get experience so that you can get hired. You actually get a refund if you complete the entire program. Like I myself took the product management one, and the data level one, and the digital marketing one. Super fun, and I finished it, so I got my refund and my certificate. You don't need a technical background for it. I majored in psychology, so not technical at all. And it's only 6 weeks. So if you want to learn more about that, our website is just here. And I got a lot of questions about, for data analysts and stuff that's outside of product management. I think there are some designers here, maybe some data analysts. Maybe you're interested in everything. We do have more resources on these websites, so I'll put them in the chat later and make sure to save them. But I'm also going to be emailing them to you. We have a lot of cool mentors here who you can reach out to for advice. Okay. And if you have any questions about the programs themselves, please email support@entrylevel.net. So if you're curious and you want to pick which program is for you, or if you don't know, like if you have some program related questions, please direct them to support@entrylevel.net, because we're not answering program specific questions today, because today is all about the story of one of our students who got an internship after our program, our product management program. Okay, awesome. Now let's keep the chat active again. What is your level of experience in tech? You can put 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1 is you're a complete beginner. 2 is you've taken some courses, maybe even an entry-level course. 3, you got an internship before, and 4, you currently work in tech. Ooh, I see somebody who currently works in tech. That's awesome. Hope you're liking it so far. Most people are complete beginners or taken a course. Ooh, Rachel has taken a course. I recognize you from Twitter, I think. So thank you for being here. We have a few people who currently work in tech, some people who've gotten internships. Wow. So for people who currently work in tech or have internships, feel free to put more advice in the chat for all the beginners here as we go through the event. Awesome. So just a few housekeeping rules. This is the agenda for today. I'm going to introduce our lovely panelist soon, who can then talk about herself. And then we're going to do Q&A. And then if you want to ask questions, you can do so anytime in the chat. But make sure it's relevant to product management for our speaker today. And I will ask a question verbally. If you want to ask the question yourself and you don't mind being publicly on our YouTube, you can just use the raise hand function on Zoom or message me in the Zoom chat, and I can ask you to unmute and then you can ask a question. Please just be respectful. You can keep the chat active, but please don't spam anything weird. It's like common sense stuff. And then keep your mics and cameras off if you don't want to be recorded, because this is on our YouTube and the recording is sent out to everybody. Okay, finally, I'm going to introduce our wonderful panelist, Asan. Wait, oh no, I lost the pronunciation. Asana. Do you want to introduce yourself? Did I pronounce your name right?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, currently it's 5 p.m. in Nigeria. My name is Hassana Abubakar. I'm currently an associate product manager at Prunedge, Nigeria. So yeah, I have a BSc in biochemistry. So basically my background is in the healthcare. Aside product management, I also have like keen interest in the business world generally, business management, strategy, growth. So yeah, I'm still trying to like explore that part. So that's really much about me and what I do. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks so much. I can't wait to hear more about your story. So let's dive into the first question, because a lot of people sent in their questions ahead of time. So I want to hear about how you started your product management journey. Like, what steps did you take?
Okay. I actually started my tech journey in 2021. That was, I think, November 2021. At that time, I just wanted to like learn a tech skill. So I started off with project management. But then I wasn't really more into it because at that time I was doing my NYSC. So it was kind of difficult for me to like juggle the two, because I leave home like say 5:30 and I get back home 7 p.m., 8 p.m. ish. So it was really difficult for me to like cope. But then so when I was throughout the time I was rounding up my NYC, so I became like more consistent with what I was learning. So there was actually this tech program that I attended in April 2022. That was the next year after I started my journey. It was a tech event, and I think that was actually like my very first tech event. And I attended and I met this person who is a guy, and we were able to connect together. And luckily for me, we kind of had like almost the same difficulty, because it was also trying to learn product management at that time. So we talked about the challenges of learning and everything. So we connected basically. So we're like, okay, we're just going to be accountability partners and whatnot. So I think about 3 weeks after I was there about, that was when he sent me the Internship for Good entry-level product management course. And he was like, oh, I think you should apply for this scholarship and let's see where it goes. At first, it was kind of overwhelming because I didn't know how I was going to transition from project management to product management. So I told him I was going to like apply and do some research about it. But then when I did my research, I got to realize that it wasn't really that deep, because I mean, I just had to like focus more on my transferable skills and work more on the things that I needed to do. So I applied for the entry-level program. I think a week or thereabouts, we got an email that we got in, and it was a 6 weeks program. And it was like we're going to do it together, because at that time he was doing his master's. So we kind of like had to like schedule when we're going to learn. Oh yeah, I missed this part where we're told to like join Discord, but I actually did not join. I don't know. I'm not really a community person. So, but Internship for Good actually opened one Telegram channel and it was for the scholarship. So we're like, okay, we joined that channel, but then I didn't really participate, but I was following up because I mean, if I have questions, it's most likely somebody in the channel has already asked. So it was more of me following up on what was happening and stuff. For me, the course was an eye-opener for me, I won't even lie, because I barely knew much about product management. So it took me, so I was really consistent, and together with my friend, we were able to like learn and learn and learn. So yeah, kudos to you guys for putting out that course. And so 6 weeks journey, 6 weeks, it went so fine. And I think one part that I would actually never forget was the part where there was one part in the product management that we're asked to, it was more of like they said, it's not compulsory you do a prototype, but it's advisable that you do it. I think that was actually like my very first time going out of the box, because as much as I was learning, I didn't even think I was going to do it. But my friend kept saying, let's try something. So it was like, I was going to use Canva. And I was like, okay, let me try using Figma instead. I had to like stay all night watching Figma, how to design a prototype and stuff like that. But I was actually glad that I did that. And I was able to like do something above what we were told to do. So yeah, I think that was literally my journey into product management. And also, I think the most interesting thing about the course for me was the peer review thing. For me, it was more of like, okay, I have done my case study, and after the program, you still have like a week to review your peers' case study. So it was more of like, okay, there's a problem, and you get to like see how other people approach that problem. So I was able to learn from other people's case study, and I was able to like work more on my own case study at that time. So yeah, I think it was a really great start for me with EntryLevel. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I just wanted to ask, you said you started with project management, right? What's the difference and what made you change to product?
There's really no much difference between project management and product management, but then obviously project management, it's time based. Okay, when you're done working on that particular project, you hand over the project. But product management is a life thing. We continue, I mean, building that product, ensuring that the product is good. And so yeah, project is more of execution. You plan and execute, but with product management, you keep on working on the goals, visions of the product. So it switches its time frame or its life cycle. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Thanks for sharing. So, to summarize what you said, you started in project management, you worked a bit on your transferable skills, and you created a portfolio, got a peer review, so you got to share your work with other people. And project management is more execution and it ends after the project ends, whereas project, you kind of keep working on the product. Um, that sounds super interesting, especially as you had a background in like something totally unrelated, like a
Healthcare.
science related,
Yeah.
right? How did you find it breaking into tech from that unrelated tech background?
For me, it was more of like, okay, at that time I knew that where I was doing my NYC, they won't retain me. So it was more of like my plan has to work regardless. So I think that actually helped me in pushing for that. But it was quite difficult at the start. But I had like a mentor that was guiding me through, and also there was peer mentoring along the line. So I think it was a little bit easier for me.
Wait, how did you find a mentor?
Okay, my mentor is actually my friend, so he's been in tech for a while, so it's just like a random, it's more like a friend to me. So it wasn't like I applied for any mentorship or anything.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you have any advice for people like how can they, what can they ask their mentor and how can they find one?
um I actually remember there was a time I was looking for a mentor on LinkedIn. and I messaged her on LinkedIn. I actually code messaged her and everything. But I think after a week she replied and she was like, she doesn't think she's in the right position to mentor me. And I think that was fine. I think for me, for anybody that is looking to mentoring, that is looking for a mentor or anything, in as much as you want a senior mentor, you should also focus more on like peer mentoring, because the senior mentor would definitely have an impact in your career or your growth, but there's possibility that they may never, like they won't be available all the time. So, but then if you still like want to look for a mentor or senior mentors or anything, you can find them on LinkedIn. But then it is very important that you approach them, I mean, professionally, and they like to see actions. You can't just go into their DM and say that, well, you want them to be their mentor. You have to have something that, okay, it proves that, okay, yeah, what having sessions with them and stuff like that, what's their time. So, but then I would say more peer mentoring works a lot, because there really isn't much time when it comes to like senior PMs or like senior mentors. They have things going on for them. But when you have like a group of friends, not necessarily has to be like in the same, maybe not necessarily has to be like both product management or anything. It could be product management, product design. You could just mentor each other or have like goals retrospectives, because I do that with my friends. We do like goal retrospectives. Yeah, we invest in each other's growth basically. So I think that that's a good thing to do, really.
I feel like that's such a good insight. Like you don't have to be intimidated because you need to find all these senior people in tech to mentor you. You can just go and reflect with your friends, especially people who are already in tech. So I think a good way to get started is like right now. So if you're interested in connecting with like-minded people in tech, you can feel free to drop your LinkedIn in the chat. If you're tuning in from YouTube live stream, feel free to drop your LinkedIn in the chat there as well. And then just connect with each other. So moving on to the next question. What if you're not sure if you want to go into product management? Like what are kind of the things to help you decide if that's right for you?
I think even when I started with project management, I was able to like write down the skills required to be a project manager, and I was able to highlight like my strengths, my weakness, and actually got to realize that most of my strengths were things that I already had. I mean, I'm this kind of person that I value leadership a lot, so it's already for me. So it's more of like a strength for me. I'm quite good with documentation, and so it's more of like my strengths for me. So I think the first thing I did was knowing my strengths and my weakness, and I was able to use my strengths a lot and work on my weakness. So I think that was it for me.
Oh, what are the steps that you would suggest for someone who doesn't know their strengths and weaknesses? Like, how do they find out?
I think the first thing is do your research, because research is very important. There's quite a lot of skills out there, and people would say do this, do that. But then, is this something you're really interested in, or is this something you feel you would do better on? So I think the first thing is do your research. Highlight the skills that each of these. Okay, if you want to go for product management, highlight the skills that is needed to be a product manager. Highlight the skills that is needed to be a product designer. Try to analyze the skills. Okay, this is a strength for me, this is a weakness for me, and all of those things. So when you're able to like highlight them, instead of taking so many courses, you take a necessary course, and the rest is just upskilling and working on your weakness. That's literally it.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you would suggest taking a few courses at a time, even if you're not sure if it's right for you?
I would suggest you highlight your skills first. Like, if you want to go for product design now, you highlight the skills that is needed for a product designer, and try to list the ones that are your strengths out of it. Then highlight the ones that are your weakness. So if you think it is still something you want to go for after highlighting these things, then you can take the necessary course. So, and you get to realize that some people just keep on taking courses, and they don't even know what is wrong. But then you're taking courses, and it's more of like you're consuming almost the same kind of information, and you're not improving. So while you're taking courses, you know that, okay, this is your strength, and you also take courses that would boost your weakness.
Oh, that's such a good insight, because I fell into the trap of always just learning and feeling like I was productive, but it wasn't until I took an entry-level course that I realized, oh, I have to actually do something, like work on my project, my portfolio. So that's very interesting. And I think you can treat your learning journey as a product itself. Like do a
Yeah.
retrospective, plan it out.
Yeah, I think retrospective is very, very important. And I mean, when you're on your journey, it's very important you measure your growth or your progress so you don't stay stagnant. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So we've been talking about courses for a little bit. So if you yourself were to start all over and you had to learn product management from scratch, what are the first things that you would do? Like what courses would you look at? What resources would you use? And just what are the steps you would take?
Honestly, I would start with entry level, and I don't know because it was it was a tasky, it was very tasky, but then I actually learned a lot because I mean, it helped me with my problem solving skills. It helped me with documentation, which is very, very important as a product manager. You can't escape documentation. So I think I'll start with entry level. And so I think once I'm done with entry level, I'll probably take, because I know that design was my weakness, I'll probably take a course in design. And the next thing I'll probably do is start working on or collaborating on projects to build my portfolio. Yeah.
Do you have any tips on projects? Like which projects should people work on?
Um, it's not, there are so many problems, really, Jennifer. There are actually so many problems. I mean, you could just be a random thing and you could have like a few friends that are also like product designer or web developer or something. That's where collaboration comes in, working on building your portfolio. And so there are so many problems you can always pick up from in the health tech or in the healthcare or fintech space, anywhere. You could just pick from any problem and try to analyze that problem and try solving it. So it's really that.
Oh, that's a good insight. I think a lot of people overlook soft skills like collaboration, communication, and they think they can just work alone. But in a workplace, you always have to talk to other people. So it's very helpful if you're able to work with friends on solving some kind of problem. Okay, let's move on to more job search related stuff. I was wondering what skills you practice to feel confident in your interviews.
Um, I would say I'm one of those ones that actually did not prepare for the opportunities because I mean, it didn't take me, I think a week or 2 weeks after I took my entry level course when I was done. That was when I got my offer. So I wouldn't say I was really, really prepared, but entry level course actually prepared me for one major thing that helped me, which was a part in my interview session that had a technical assessment that I had to do. So it was more of like I had to submit the assessment in 48 hours. And I mean, if I hadn't taken the course, I'm like, where should I start from? Because I literally had to document things and turn over the document back to them for review and stuff. So, but then I feel like after taking courses, one shouldn't just say, okay, I'm looking for an internship or, well, it's good that you start looking for internship, but then when you hear some people, they'll be like, oh, they stopped learning or they are currently focusing on getting an internship. And I think that's wrong because while you're where you're searching for a job, it is also important that you keep on learning. Learning actually never stops. And it's not that the courses you take will cover everything that you do that is into like your career or like your product management that you want to do or something. So I'd suggest that after taking your necessary courses, I think go for open source projects, work on open source project to build your portfolio. Sometimes at the end of the day, you build your portfolio, you have like 2 to 3 open source projects in your portfolio. You don't even necessarily need to go for internship again. You could just go for an entry level or like a junior role because they know that you've worked on a real life project. And in Nigeria, you barely see companies that will take you if you haven't worked on a real life project. So that's why it's advisable that once you're done taking courses, start looking forward to like working on building your portfolio. 1 or 2 projects is okay. to be in your portfolio.
Oh, so there seems to be a very heavy emphasis on getting project experience, but you don't need work experience to get project experience, right? You can just make your own project.
Yes, you can just make your own project with your friend.
Okay. Are you able to explain a little bit more about what open source projects are and portfolios?
Okay, so portfolios are basically what your recruiters will look at. I mean, when it comes to like you want to apply for a role, you would definitely have to like submit your portfolio, and it gives them an insight of what you've done, what you've been able to. Because I mean, I feel like the tech space values your skills over certificates sometimes. So they want to like see how you approach problems, how you document problems. If you're a designer, they want to see how you think towards design, how you demonstrate your design skills and stuff. So yeah, basically portfolio building something. So if you have like a problem that you feel needs to be addressed, or like you feel, even it doesn't have to be like a big problem, you could just collaborate with your friends. Okay, if you're a product manager, you walk them through the product lifecycle, do the necessary documentations, do your market research, do everything. Then your friend that is a product designer, you could collaborate with them, work on designing what the product will look like, and then pass to your product, the web developer. Sometimes you even need to have a web dev. There are no code tools you could just use and stuff. So yeah, that's basically your portfolio shows what your skills, what skills you have, and how you've been able to like approach problems generally.
How do you even start with having a portfolio? Like, where do you find these open source projects, and what even are they?
Open source projects can start from anywhere, because I mean that's why it's very important to like join communities. In communities, we hear people say they have an idea of what they want to build, they don't know how to go about it. Let's form a team, let's build this and whatnot. So I think joining more communities would also help you to have access to open source projects, and yeah, building them.
The always learn portfolio and community is something that I keep hearing about. So I'll try to find some resources for communities. Like I just linked one in the chat and you guys can join them. The one that I linked is where you can shadow some product managers, but I'll email it out to everyone, so don't worry. So about portfolios, you mentioned joining communities and finding people to start projects, but what would you suggest to put on a portfolio? Like, what is the structure like, and how would you recommend starting one as a complete beginner?
Okay, so as a complete beginner, you could, I mean, for example, if you're a developer, or let me start with developers now. If you're a developer, there are actually free UI on the internet where you can easily just code them and put on your portfolio. That's that. So your portfolio is going to contain who you are, what you do, a few projects that you've worked on. If you're a designer, you could think of any app or any problem that you want to solve, design something relating to it, have it in your portfolio. If you're a product manager, you could work around having case studies. Okay, for example, if you use a mobile app or anything, your job as a product manager is to solve a problem. So you could just, some days you could just randomly pick an app, try to analyze the app, what you think is wrong or what you think they're doing right, then do a complete case study on it. So that's where your portfolio could also start from. So you could just do random case studies and stuff. So but I think if there are people that have actually taken the entry-level course for product managers now, it will be easier for them to randomly pick any app that they use, any mobile app, and do a thorough case study for it. So it's easier that way.
Oh, yeah, I think after I did the entry-level program, I took the product and the data one. I made my portfolio, but it was so helpful because throughout the course, you're already making the portfolio, because every small task, you just collect it all to put in your portfolio. I was so proud of my data portfolio because it was really fun to make. And I feel like I'm biased because I work at entry level, but I would really recommend it as a resource.
Yeah, I would actually also recommend it, honestly.
Thanks so much. And then speaking of courses, like there's a lot of courses out there where you can get a portfolio and a certificate, and one of those is entry level. But can you really just land a job with just that, the portfolio and certificate, or are there other things that you have to do?
Okay, like I said, because when I finished my course, so there was actually a I was on LinkedIn one day and I saw a startup that was like hiring interns, and I applied. And I mean, so luckily for me, there was this one of my connection that works there. Then I reached out to the person, and the person was like, oh, he's going to follow up for me and stuff like that, and which it did. And I got an offer letter, but I didn't take that offer letter because at that time also, my friend who is a mentor told me that the company I currently work for is currently hiring. So it was like I should apply and see. And then I applied, and the process was about 3 weeks, and I had to pick one over one. But then I picked this one I'm currently working on. But my answer is yes, you can actually get an internship role or a role, yeah, even after taking a course. But I think the most important thing that I think people also like underestimate is putting yourself out there. Like there's actually power in social media, and there's actually power in putting yourself out there. And I'm also like, I can also testify to that because it has worked for me so many times. So while you are learning, I would suggest that people put themselves out there. Whatever thing you are working on, whatever thing you are learning, be putting it out there. People are watching your journey. People are seeing you, because it's a different thing when you're already in tech. You may not necessarily need that, but if you're just trying to break into tech, there are thousands of people trying to break into tech. So what makes you stand out is what people see that you do and what they know that you're capable of doing. So when you put your stuff out there, people get to see you more. And I mean, you can never tell who your next recruiter will be. It could be from your connection. It could be a friend on your connection that knows somebody. So I think, yeah, starting with a product management course from entry level and having your portfolio with that could actually get you a job. Yeah.
Oh, that's such an interesting insight because I actually created the growth marketing program at entry level because I'm a marketer, but I always want to make people share what they're learning. Like it's okay if you share exactly what you're learning from our courses, because then you can stand out to employers, you can start building a presence online, and you can find a presence in your community. Because that's actually how I found Asana. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Thank you. That's how I found Asana, because it was on Twitter. Like if you follow entry level on Twitter, we post a lot of tech Twitter stuff, and there's a huge community there that's really friendly. So I would always recommend following us because we post a lot of tech people. That's our Twitter URL. Yeah, so just sharing and opportunities will find you. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for bringing that up and for promoting entry level so much. I'm so flattered because like part of the reason why I love working here is because we want to reskill 1 billion people by 2030. And we just want to help people get jobs and make education accessible. That's why you get a refund if you finish it, because we really want to motivate you to complete your learning and get a job.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for that.
Yeah. Moving on to the next question. Again, just a reminder, if you have specific questions, you can put it in the chat. I'll be monitoring it and asking it. But we did have some previous questions sent in about your CV. So people are wondering, what do you put in your CV?
What did I put in my CV? Okay, prior to that, I told you I have like a background in the healthcare, so I couldn't really use that. So but then there was this business that was handling their social media. So I was actually able to tailor my CV around that, and I mean, around product management. I mean, I was managing their products. I grew their products business and growth and everything. So I think my CV was majorly around that company or that business, and the entry level. I wrote it as internship, really. But then, so that was literally that what was in my CV. Entry level. Then the former place I was doing my business, the business I was working on then. So that's on my CV.
Wait, that's so interesting. So you were not in a product management position, but you kind of took on product management duties at your old job?
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you get to know that you were already performing some of these things even before you got to know about product management or your tech skill. So yeah, that was it.
I think it's something so many people overlook because you can really apply product management to every aspect of your life. Actually, you can
Yeah.
also apply like many tech skills to every aspect of your life, including like managing your health, your personal relationships, your job search, your learning, even your current job. Okay, so thanks for sharing. And my next question is more about how you can find internships. Like, what kind of job search platforms did you use?
Um, I don't really know much about like job, like I mean, searching jobs and stuff. But I think one thing I recommend is same thing I would say is putting yourself out there. So for I don't know, for people in Nigeria, if there's like or anybody, if there's a company or a startup, and I'm also of the belief that you don't necessarily have to go for a big fish at the start. I mean, you can always start from somewhere and learn that gain that experience, and then you go for what you want. So what I'll suggest is if there's a startup or any startup in your country that you really, really want to work with or work for, working on a project for them, like say, okay, they have a website or a web app or a mobile app, do a case study, do a total review of their product or their mobile app or anything, do a total review of it, put it out there, tag them, tell people to help you tag them, and also send it to them. That's you definitely have to connect with people that work with them, tell them to review what you've worked and let them know why you want to work with them and what you can make differently. Because I mean, especially in Nigeria, getting internships are quite very hard. And but what makes you stand out is putting yourself out there and doing something that people have not done before, like something that stands out generally. So yeah, if there's any startup you want to work for, do something for them and send to them and let them review. So yeah. And I'll also suggest networking. Man, networking has also helped me so lot. I mean, it just helps you with the whole job searching thing. I mean, you network with people, share experience with them, add value to them, and you can never tell. You can just randomly get a message from them, oh, this company is hiring and I know that you are capable and stuff like that. And mind you, when you're networking, I feel like some people just want to network because they want to get a job. And sometimes it's not always the case. Network because you want to get value from them and let them see that you are worth like having in their corner. So when they see your capacity or when they see what you're capable of doing, anything that comes to their mind or any job that comes to their mind, you may most likely be like the first set of people that they would like tell or something. So yeah, leverage on networking and tech events. So I think that would also work.
That's such a good insight because I know a lot of people who break into tech, they do all the right things. They have a portfolio with projects, they have a good CV, but it's the networking that really helps them stand out. I know people who constantly message me, giving me updates and asking for advice. They're the first people I think of when I see a job opportunity that they like. So networking, making sure to follow up, communicate well, those are very good tips. Thanks for sharing. Another question is about standing out in the job search. And I know we kind of covered this already, but were there any other tips you would want to share about how to stand out?
I don't think there's any other tips aside putting yourself out there and let people be on the journey with you. So
Yeah, so to recap is
People would
yeah,
find your growth inspiring. People would see what you're doing eventually. So
yeah. Do you actually know of any product management communities that people should join?
yes, I know of some. I don't know. I don't know if I can share them here or something, but I know of some.
How do you find these communities?
That's also by networking, really. I don't know. Nigeria, we actually have like good communities and people are very supportive, irrespective of the career that you are in. So I think networking with people, going on LinkedIn, trying to use the search bar, filter people's names or jobs by jobs or anything, follow them, reach out to them, talk to them about what you're facing, let them give you insights of how their journey has been. And I mean, there are actually quite a number of of communities, the She Code Africa, people in products, Ingressive for Good, actually. I'm part of their community, really. So yeah.
Perfect. So I heard She Code Africa, Ingressive for Good, and what was the other one?
People in product.
People in and I have a lot of other communities, and I will link those resources in an email that I send out, and also on our website. So people in product, Ingressive, She Code Africa. She Code Africa is for women only, though, I believe.
No, not
Really?
necessarily women.
Okay, interesting. Maybe people, you can search it up after our call and see if it's for you. Okay, so we have one more question. So I saw that you went from an intern to an associate. Congratulations on that, by the way. How did you get that promotion?
Thank you very much. I don't know, because they usually do evaluation, like they will do appraisal and evaluation, and if they see that you're actually capable, then the promotion is yours. But for me, I think when I joined, I was really, really determined to like, I mean, I'm always like a very determined person right from time. So whatever I have interest in, I put in my best and ensure that I'm always there. So I mean, joining as an intern, I ensured that I was usually very visible, and um I ensured that I also added value to the company. So I think it was an easy one, I guess.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like you basically did your job right, but
Yeah.
what are some things that can guarantee that you succeed in your job?
Um that can succeed that succeeded in my job. I think majorly I feel like right from time when you start as an intern there, they put you on things, and for me the place was more of you have to grow as fast as possible, like because you will take courses and at the end of the day you realize that there's still much to learn. So it now depends on how fast you want to learn and how fast you want to grow. So at some point there were some tasks whereby I don't even like need to be under I mean like inspection, or like I still need review on before I do it. So I think all of those also added to it. So but I think one thing I was able to also get from it was that while I was interning, I I ensured that I put in my best, and I don't have to like wait till you tell me something before I do it. I'm always asking questions if I don't know anything. I'm always like, I need to know this, I need to know how it is done. I do my research, I get back to my line manager, like my senior PM and all. So yeah, I think it has to be dedication and knowing what you actually want for yourself. So, yeah.
Oh, those are some very good points that I noticed like at work as well. So if you're determined, you learn fast, you're proactive and you do your own research, you ask good questions. And another one I would add is if you follow up on things, because people are busy and they really appreciate if you follow up on something important and remind them of something, then you can succeed in the workplace. Um, That was, yeah, you agree?
Yeah, I agree actually. I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any other recommended resources that people can look at if they're beginning their product management journey?
Okay, for me, aside entry level, I would recommend that people also take courses from product school. Product school, they have like good courses. And I think that was all for me. And I also took some courses on design because it was more of my weakness. I also took a course on API because I mean API is now the thing really. So yeah, there's actually going to be a lot to learn. So I would recommend that you have like a roadmap for yourself. Once you've been able to highlight your strengths and your weakness, also try to learn and work on your weakness. So if you feel design is also part of your weakness, it can also come later on when you're learning. And don't forget that learning never ends. You can learn on the job, you can keep on learning.
Yeah, I love that. Every student I talk to who got a job, they always say you always need to keep learning. And create a learning roadmap for yourself is very helpful advice. So you clearly know what to do next and what to improve on. So a question about learning soft skills. So what about skills that you can't really learn from a course, like communication? How would you learn stuff like that?
Honestly, that's actually a hard question for me. But I would honestly recommend that one thing is you can learn all these soft skills in a day. I mean, there's communication, there's leadership skills, there's I mean, there are so many of them. So what I would suggest is you start practicing, like using it as your day-to-day thing. I mean, you're communicating to people, and that's why it's very important that you work on like open source projects. It helps you know how to work with cross-functional people. There are developers that don't like to talk. There are developers or like people that don't like to do things, and you're a product manager, you can't escape it. You have to work with different kind of people, and I mean, you know how to manage them. People management is very difficult, honestly. So yeah, I think working on open source projects will also help you boost some of these skills, some of these soft skills.
Perfect. So sounds like just getting project experience is basically what you need, because a lot of jobs are like, oh, you need years of experience for entry level. But I don't think those experience need to be work experience. It can be experience working on your own projects. So if you feel like you're not qualified for a job, I would say apply anyway, because you might have more experience than you think.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all, most of the questions that I had today, but I want to give everybody the chance to have their questions answered as well, because there's just so much value from all your advice. So if anybody has questions, feel free to like say I have a question in the chat, and then I can ask you to unmute and you can ask it yourself, or you can just put the question in the chat and I will ask it if it's relevant. I see a question in the chat now asking if you meet 50% of the requirements, apply to that job. Oh wait, no, that wasn't a question. That's actually just a true statement. Okay, anyone else have any questions? Oh, I actually came up with one. So you mentioned being active on social media, right? How do you even start? Like, what platforms do you recommend using?
Sorry, I didn't get a question, Jennifer.
Yes, it was just how do you start using social media? Is it like what platforms would you recommend using?
I would honestly recommend Twitter and LinkedIn. And at first, I don't know, when people say it's actually hard to like, I understand that it's actually hard to put yourself out there because I was also in that shoe. But then I feel like what actually helped me was I just needed it to work. I think that was what it was in my mind or was in my head. I just needed it to work. And so I had to like set this goal for myself. I started with at least I post one thing in a month on my LinkedIn and on my Twitter. And from then it moved to 2 things a month, or 2 articles, or anything in a month, or anything I'm working, at least 2 posts in a month. And currently I do about like 3, 4, but then you just get comfortable along the line. So I think it's best that you start from somewhere. You could just start by posting once in a month, and gradually you get used to it.
Oh, that's good advice. It reminds me of going to the gym too, because you want to progressively do more, but you start small so it's manageable. Okay, I saw somebody raise their hand, but it disappeared. So feel free to unmute if you want to ask your question, but please note that this is recorded on YouTube, so it will be in that recording. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like they're gonna unmute. So I do see another question in the chat. So Hasana, did I get it?
Yes.
Yes, okay. People are asking, are you available to chat with them? Like if you drop your LinkedIn or Twitter so they can follow you, is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. If you can just send those links to me, and then I'll make sure they're included in the email in our website, so everybody gets the link to all the resources that we discussed. That would be great. Okay, so one more question about social media posting. Do you need a specific audience to target on your social media platform?
I think I lost you for a bit. What did you say?
Oh, yes. Do you need a specific audience to target on social media when you're posting?
No. You can always start from somewhere. When people see that you're putting value out there, they would follow you, because I mean everybody wants to learn, and there are people that they're actually watching, even though they are not retweeting or they are not liking, people are actually saying it. So gradually, when people see that you're giving them value, they will definitely like follow you, and you, before you know it, I mean, you find it interactive and stuff.
Yeah, like somebody just posted in the chat, just post and people will find you. That is so true. Okay, one more question about portfolio, because I feel like my main takeaway today is just share what you're learning, portfolio, and like never stop learning. So how do you even arrange your portfolio? Like, do you send the file to people, or like how does that work?
What did you say? Do I send my file to people?
Yeah, like your portfolio, how do you even present it?
Honestly, I worked on my portfolio myself, and I just used Notion, because I know that there are developers that they have like a whole website for themselves, but I just used Notion for myself. That's basically a picture of myself, my background, my skills. I was able to highlight my skills, then my experience, a few projects that I've worked on, and some certificates that that was it. You don't necessarily have to like give somebody to do for you or anything.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier because then you can just send the link to people. So that sounds great. So any parting advice? I don't think we have any more questions. So if you want to end the call with any lasting advice that you want people to keep in mind?
I think be intentional about what you want for yourself, and know what you want for yourself, and be firm with it. It goes a long way.
Yeah, and I think what you said about learning your strengths and weaknesses, you learn that by taking courses and always learning. So that's really great. I thank you so much for all the advice today. My main takeaways again were share everything you're learning and never stop learning. And then work on portfolio projects. That's so important for getting good experience. So thanks so much everyone for coming. If you have any questions that we ended up not answering, you can email us at support@entrylevel.net. But I will also be answering most questions on email. So I'm going to email everyone after this. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all maybe at our next event. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thanks,
Have
Asana.
a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Bye. Yes, again, email
Bye.
us at support@entrylevel.net if you have more questions. Thanks. Good night, everyone.